So welcome back to the Just a Little Bit Out West podcast. We are going to try to get a little bit out west today. I'm going to tell you a story about one of the most important lessons that I learned. Several years ago, my family and I decided that we were going into the ministry. We were going to go and be missionaries out to the wilds of Montana and go up there with the cowboys and the Indians, and we were going to pastor a church there, and we thought we had it all under control. And if you know my story, you know that we showed up there, and the first town that we went to, that we thought we were supposed to go to, we could not find a single house for rent or sale or anything. There just was nothing there. And eventually we wound up at a ranch outside of Lame Deer, and we got a connection with a small church there in the town of Lame Deer. And literally everything pretty much from the start, everything went wrong. Nothing was going the way it was supposed to go. You know, we had these great visions that we were going to go and preach the word and people were going to love us, and we were going to be able to share our wisdom and be pastors of a growing, thriving church. Well, none of that happened. And there was one day when I had been crying out to God, asking him, what's wrong? What's going on here? Why are things not working? And I couldn't hear anything from God. And so my next question was, why am I not hearing anything from you? I had heard some teaching recently that God is always speaking. If you can't hear him, it's because you're not listening. And so I said to God, I don't know why I can't hear you. I don't know what it is that I'm doing that's preventing me from hearing what you're saying, but I want to hear. And so tell me what it is that I'm missing. And the answer came back, you're not hearing because you don't want to hear what I have to say. And I said, okay, Lord, what is it that I don't want to hear? And I heard this voice in my mind, and I believe it was God, and he said, what you don't want to hear is that there's nothing wrong. And I was like, what in the world are you talking about? This must be a demon. I rebuke you, devil, for saying that.
What do you mean there's nothing wrong? I'm walking by faith and things are worse than they have ever been. What am I supposed to do? I listened, and the reply came back, relax. And you have to understand, I have been working now for 20 years to learn how to obey that one-word command. It's not easy, but it can be done. If you can learn from my mistakes, maybe it won't take 20 years for you. The first step in this process is for you to become convinced of a few truths. This part is critical, or else you are never going to survive the rest of the lesson. I don't have the space here to detail all the scripture, so for the moment, you're going to have to trust me that these things do have evidence in the scripture. But first, you have to understand that God is real, he really cares, and that he really is on your side. He loves you, and he desires your prosperity more than you do. Secondly, the faith movement has been misrepresented and misappropriated, mostly by people like me, who heard what they wanted to hear. Faith without love and God-inspired direction is usually nothing more than witchcraft. Faith for things, not always, but many times, fulfills the scripture in 1 Timothy 6:5, perverse disputings of men of corrupt minds and destitute of the truth, supposing that gain is godliness. I can't tell you how many times I heard preachers say, having faith is not going to keep you from having problems. And each time I would hear that, I would mentally rebuke it, and I'd say to myself, not me, I have faith. I won't be like those others. Nothing bad is going to happen to me. No plague will come nigh my dwelling. That's what it says in Psalms 91. So we talked about this a little while ago, about going through the valley of the shadow of death. And that can be pretty scary, especially if you start looking around. You have got to keep your eyes on the shepherd and where the shepherd is going and follow him. He will bring you into a prosperous place. But sometimes you are going to go through some pretty intimidating places first. True faith is not moved or dismayed by the circumstance because it has trust. True faith knows that no matter how things look right now, it's all going to turn out for God's purpose, and that his purpose is going to be good, not evil. Does that mean we can't be blessed or have good things and prosper? Of course not. But you have to understand the picture is infinitely larger than you think it is. My theme song during these times is a song written by Jerry Ragnavoy, who's also known as Norman Mead, and this song was performed by the Rolling Stones. Time is on my side. Yes, it is. Time is on my side. You remember that song? Time is on your side, because if you'll be patient and you will rest in God, he will bring you into that prosperous place that it talks about in Psalms 23, the place of still waters and green grass. But you can't be looking around thinking about how crappy stuff looks right now. Listen, you've just got to remember that you can't look at the way things are and decide by those whether or not you have faith or not. And one of the things we're going to get to later on this year, I'll just throw it out here now, is the only way that you know that you are in God's will is the sense of peace that you have in your heart. You can't look at your circumstances. You can't look at your bank account. You can't look at any of those things. All you can look at is your heart and see if your heart is at peace. And that's when you know you're in the will of God.
Paul says, we labor to enter into the rest. This is that area where God gives us this paradox, and he says, you have to work in order to rest. It's like what we've talked about with humility, that in order to make yourself great, you have to make yourself humble. You bring yourself down in order to bring yourself up. And in God's economy, this makes perfect sense. In our economy, it makes no sense. But Paul says, labor, spend your effort in learning to rest, in trying to get to that place where you can, as Peter says, cast your care on him because he cares for you. And I'll give you just a little bit of a free item here. When you are trying to learn to cast your care, what you are going to find out is that in order for you to cast your care, you are going to have to stop caring. You can't care about what it's going to look like, and you can't care about how God is going to get it done, and you can't even care about what it's going to look like after it's done. You have to trust that God is going to bring you through to where he wants you to be. This is super, super hard for people. It's super, super hard for me. I spent many, many years crying out in anguish to God, many nights in the middle of the night saying, God, what am I supposed to do? What should I do? Give me direction. Give me knowledge. Give me understanding so that I can know what to do. And this is what you have to do, is you have to learn to rest in him and let him guide you and direct you. And there are times when God will say, go. And at those times, you got to get up and go. But even that, you're resting. It's like what I talked to you last week about being a sheep. We are resting when we are following our shepherd. All right, I will come back next week and we will talk some more about getting out west and learning to relax. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.